Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com and we are here today live. And are you guys ready to rumble? Because we've got some exciting stuff for today's program. I will need you to pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. Let's see who we have in the chat today. You guys give me a shout out and I'll give you a shout out. Looks like we have Terry, Bowler Jack, welcome. Joseph, welcome. Andrew, Aaron Carmen, our old friend, and Joseph Litchens. Who else is out there? Okay, we've got VT. Hey, we were starting to worry about you, VT. Usually you're in a little bit later, but glad you did make it. We've got, who else? You guys give me a shout out. Let's see who we've got in the chat today. Okay, we've got Karis, we've got Frank, we've got Concert, we've got Ken from Cali. All right. And then we have Neofito 3333, Kevin Burt. Okay, we've got some people out there today, and I am so excited that you guys tuned in. Okay, we've got Emilio Martinez from San Antonio. I love the city of San Antonio. The reason I love San Antonio, so many cities these days are just the same. It's like they're like cookie cutter cities, and San Antonio really maintains some wonderful culture and some wonderful history. So I really like it. Hey, Fred's in the house. Dean. AKL, Mohammed, TK, Stephanie Schneider. Okay, that's wonderful. Stephen the engineer, Pat Rude, Dean Myers. Okay, welcome all you guys. And it is really exciting to have you here because I am really excited about this upcoming week. Why am I excited about this upcoming week? Because we are going to finally start the Pico W class. Now, I was a little bit delayed because I've kind of had an interesting month of January. I'd hoped to start these classes a little bit sooner, but I had a visitor. If you guys caught last week's live stream, you saw that I had one of my old math students from West Texas, who's now a working engineer. He came out to Africa and spent a couple of weeks here, and we had a great time with him. And then also, though, that during that time, I got sick. Now, I don't get sick very often, but I got like a really, really bad case of malaria. And then on top of the malaria, I had some like really serious respiratory infection. And between those things, it kind of took me out of the game for a few weeks. But I'm back and I'm better than ever. And I am now ready to release the Pico W classes. I've actually made the first 5 classes already. And as I'm getting into this, I am really, really loving the Pico W. I am having a lot of fun with the Pico W, and I'm looking forward to you guys joining in with me and enjoying it as much as I am. Now, one of the things I just really, really love about the Pico W is this is one of the little projects. Let me get out of your way, and we have got to get some focus on that thing, don't we? Give me just a second to get that focused. That is kind of a clown show, right? That is kind of a goat rodeo with how badly that thing is focused. These little webcams do not do good. They don't do good on the autofocus. Okay, so this is the little project that I was working on, I think for like lesson number 5, where I show you how to do the analog read from the Pico W. And what I love about the Pico W, it has an onboard analog to digital converter. And one of the things that I really hated about the Raspberry Pi, there was no analog to digital converter. So if you wanted to read anything like a potentiometer, or you want to read anything like a light sensor, any number of different sensors, you had to go in and put that external A to D ADC chip in, and then you had to wire it up, and then it was a little finicky to work with. You had to load a library, and so anytime on the Raspberry Pi that you were going to do something that required analog in, it was a pain in the rear. And so that's one of the things that I really always did not enjoy about Raspberry Pi projects. And so what I really love is the Pico W has gotten back to an onboard analog to digital converter. And also you can do the reads with very simple commands. You don't have to install libraries. You don't have to do things like that. And so I really, really love that. And the other thing I'm loving about the Pico W is how it gets back to like what the Arduino was. You download a program into the Arduino and then you just apply power and it runs. The Arduino didn't have to boot. You just applied power. Whatever program was in there would run. Now, the Pico W is a little bit more advanced than that in that you can save different programs on the Pico W, but what it does is the program that you name main.py, the program that you name main.py, whenever you apply power, it runs main.py. And so it's kind of back to the old, it just works. And you don't have to have that extra layer of an operating system in there that really kind of slows you down. And so that's one of the things I'm really excited about. The Pico W is that you just power it up and it runs the program. And then I'm really excited that the analog in is very easy. And so a lot of things that are kind of hard to do on the Pi are very easy to do on the Pico W. Now, the other thing though is it's kind of like if I compare it to the Arduino, it has all the things that I love about the Arduino, but then none of the things that I didn't love about the Arduino. And so the problem with the Arduino is that once you wanted to kind of make a deployable prototype or something that would be a little bit more of something untethered from the desktop, it just did not have easy ways of connectivity. That the way you communicated with the Arduino was over the USB cable, and when you untethered from the computer, you sort of lost connection with the Arduino. The great thing about the Pico W is it has built-in Wi-Fi. And so you can maintain connection and communication with your Pico W over your home Wi-Fi router. And I find that just absolutely incredible. So I'm finding the Pico W absolutely kind of like a game changer. And so that gets a little bit into the strategy that I'm taking for my class, and that is I really see the Pico W to be the platform that replaces the Arduino, because it has all the things we love about the Arduino, none of the things that we hated about it, and then new capability that really sort of allows us to take our little projects to that next level. So hopefully that makes sense. So why am I giving all that long introduction? Really, if you look at my channel, the Arduino series of lessons, they've gotten millions of views on those videos, and it's kind of the entry level into engineering. So if you want to learn to code, you want to learn to build circuits, it was that Arduino class that you went to. But then when I went through like the Raspberry Pi classes, or I went through the Jetson Nano classes, they were at a little bit more advanced level. So those would not be classes that you would start with. Well, what I want to do is I want to make my series of lessons on the Pico W the new entry level class into engineering. Well, what does that mean that I need to do? I need to go all the way back, and I need to think about, I'm talking to a 7th grader or a 9th grader, or maybe a 77-year-old who's never done any coding or technology before. I have to put in my mind as I'm making these lessons that they are for what? Absolute beginners. Now, I know a lot of you guys that are watching today, and a lot of you guys that are really the backbone of my channels are not absolute beginners. And so what I just need your patience in this class is, remember that one day you were a beginner. And so I'm going to start with the very, very basics. And then also I'm going to go through some of those classic problems, like how do you do a toggle switch? How do you turn an LED on and off with a toggle switch? How do you sort a list? How do you average numbers? All of those things that we went through in the Arduino class, we're going to go through in this class. And you guys that are the old pros that are so important for this channel, be patient. There is some really, really exciting componentry in this kit that we're going to be working on, and we will get to the cool stuff, and we will get to, oh, wow, thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate that, Stephen. That means a lot to me. And I'll be talking to you guys a little bit later about some upgrades that I have made to my studio and to my infrastructure based on the generosity that you guys have been showing. And so we'll get a little peek into some of the upgrades that you will be enjoying as we go through, into these more advanced lessons. Give me just a second here. Okay, that's looking good. As we go into these new lessons, you're going to see some upgrades in my studio, and so I really appreciate you guys that are helping me out. But what I need you guys to do is remember, as I'm going through these early lessons, that you were a beginner one day as well. And what I would really love is some of you old pros, rather than getting impatient with me, maybe you could be looking down in the comments on these lessons that I release, and maybe you could find someone with a new person question, and maybe you could respond to that question and give that person a little bit of help down in the comments. Now, when I made the Arduino series of lessons, maybe I had 40,000 subscribers or something like that, and it was still at sort of a manageable level that as I was releasing those videos, if people had questions or needed support or help on something in the comments, I could go in and individually answer them. Well, now with 312,000 or whatever, 312,000, something like that, subscribers, I just simply can't go in and give individual technical help. But for new beginners, that help is needed. So what I'm hoping is, some of you guys that are, more mature, that maybe you would kind of take on the role as helper in some of these earlier classes. Plus the problems, these classic problems are always good to review. And maybe even if you'd done them before, maybe the second time through you will, it'll be fun because you can figure it out because you've seen it before. Also, what I really want to do in this series of lessons is I really want to emphasize the mathematics. I want to teach people that math is your friend. I want to teach people math is your friend. And so I want to give you projects on the Pico W that in order to do the homework, you've got to apply some math. But never fear, I'll show you how to do the math. Oh, wow. Gaz T, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys today on the super chats. That means a whole lot to me. So you guys are really, really great in supporting the channel. So what I want to teach in this class, I want to teach people to think like an engineer. And to think like an engineer, you sort of map out your problem. You apply some math. The math gives you a solution that you then incorporate into code, and then you have hardware around that. And it's amazing that going through that process, it like opens up pathways in your brain. It like makes connections in your brain, and you really look at the world differently. When you look at a problem, you just look at it and you go through this process and you work through to a solution. And also, I really want to emphasize helping people understand how to debug or troubleshoot. So your project isn't working. Well, what could be wrong? You could have hooked it up wrong. You could have coded it wrong. Perhaps you have a faulty component in there, but you have to think through it methodically and troubleshoot and debug. And as you develop this troubleshooting and debugging skill, it applies to just about anything. It applies very, very generally to the things that you face in life. Oh, wow. Terry, you guys are really helping me out today, and I really appreciate that. And again, what I will say is I will, a little bit later on, show you some of the exciting things that you can be expecting in these upcoming lessons, some exciting things that you can be expecting in these upcoming lessons based on some upgrades that I've made to my studio. So I will talk about that a little bit later. But what I want to do is I want to kind of open it up for questions now. So I want you to ask questions specifically about the Pico W class. Also, if you're willing to step up and help, maybe look through the comments on the videos as they come out and try to help the new guys. Let me know if you might be one willing to step up and help kind of look through those comments listen and give people help. And then just any general questions you have, we'll just interact a little bit here with you. And then maybe I'll talk to you a little bit more about my studio. Okay, let's see. Human person, Paul, I just wanted to say thank you for the new skills. I can't wait. I can't wait to learn more. Hi from Australia. Okay, human, wonderful. I do love the land down under. I have been there 4 times. It is a very special place, Australia, and I do miss that. Chase, what that happened to me before? Okay, I believe Chase, if I'm not mistaken, is VT's grandson. And then we've got Concert. I am an old pro with the Arduino, but I'll still be starting back at the bottom on this series. Okay, Concert, that's good. And it's just sometimes it's good to go over the basics again. Okay, have a lesson on Ohm's law. Yeah, and really, it's like somebody suggested earlier, I really would like to show more general approaches or strategies to solving circuits, and I hope I can get into that in this class a little bit. Aaron, what's been your biggest complaint with the Pico so far? Looking forward to helping the new generation. Aaron, I haven't found anything that I don't like about it. I just really like that I can connect to it over Wi-Fi. I like when I plug it in, it works. I like that MicroPython builds on something that we're familiar with, Python. And so I am just absolutely cozy at home when I'm working with the Pico W. And I'm really like, I'm sounding like a salesman, but I'm trying to think, what would I have done differently? And I've just not yet found something that I would do differently. I really like it. Okay, let's see. Johnny J, do you need an MP3 shield to play high quality audio from an Arduino? Yeah, the Arduino is probably not the platform I would use for audio. If I was going to do audio and I wanted something small and inexpensive, I would probably use the Raspberry Pi Zero, that little bitty Raspberry Pi board that's like, $5-10. I would use that for music because I would want just a little bit more horsepower than I could get out of the Arduino. And if you think about it, you could buy the Raspberry Pi Zero for cheaper than you could buy a board for the Arduino, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see what else we have. Jonathan is late, and he's late without a tardy slip. Jonathan, that is terrible, but glad you made it. Matthew or Andrew, a whole lesson on math. I could spend an eternity on math. And so I think the one thing that most people really need to become comfortable with is linear equations, how to take a problem and get an equation for a line. Because what I see you guys do, a lot of you guys, somewhere along the way, you just punted on math. And anytime you see something that needs a solution of a linear equation, you immediately do ratios. Okay, it's like you say this over this is this over this, and you kind of wing it with ratios. Ratios don't work when the y-intercept is not 0. And so about 80% of the time that you're doing those ratios, you're like completely wrong. And sometimes you might be wrong by a little bit, and sometimes you might be wrong by a lot. But what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to learn to do the math, and then I want you guys to love the math as you're doing it. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I read that the PIC has a dual code processor. I am not sure about that question. Okay, Ace, Steve, cool, welcome. Okay, let's see. Love these live talks. Would be great to see more of these going forward, and I think we can, because when I show you some of the neat things about my studio, I think we will be able to do that. And so let me take a second over here. I've got a little studio glitch here that I need to deal with. Give me just a second. Okay, I'll get back over there in just a second. Okay, when you connect the Pico to Wi-Fi, how do you interact with the Pico through Wi-Fi? It's a protocol called UDP, and it's a very low it's a very low level protocol, and it's a very easy protocol to use. And so it's just a very easy way to send data back and forth between, let's say, a Python program back at home base on your desktop, and to interact with Pis that might be out there remotely. Okay, guys, you see, I've got a little problem here in the background, and just let me see if I can address that, and then we will be back good to go. Okay, so UDP is a very very nice way to interact over Wi-Fi, and I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how you can send data or receive data, take data back and forth, and then if you want to do something more sophisticated, or you want to do something more complicated, what you can always do is you can do something like RSTP or RTMP. There's other protocols, but the nice thing is that for most cases, UDP is just a really simple way to do it. Okay, Gaz says, love live talks, would be great to do more. I hope we can moving forward. And if you guys have interest, I will do it. But if I'm just boring you, I don't want to do it because I don't want to bore you. But I love it. I love getting together with you. Good. Getting together with you guys. Okay, Ullman says, good to know you're doing well. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, malaria, like somehow there's this impression, oh, you get malaria and you take a few tablets, and then malaria is really a nasty illness, you know, just these sweats and chills, and you also kind of enter into this state of delirium where you're not thinking clearly, and, you know, maybe you're imagining things. And so malaria you don't want to get, and you certainly don't want malaria with this nasty respiratory problem that seems to be going around. And so January was a little bit of a tough month for me, but yeah, Oman, I am back. Hey, Mohan from India, welcome. Chase, I really want to donate $1. Well, Chase, thank you so much, and I just appreciate the kind thought there. Ace, Steve, I have been really busy with school, but when I finished for the day, I went and rewatched some of your videos to refresh my memory. Great teacher. Well, thank you, Ace. And I really think watching them again, and besides watching them again, to actually go in and do the projects sort of like the second time, do them without watching me, and I think that is pretty cool. Let's take a look back at the old, let me see if I can get back to the river cam here. See, we're kind of getting the sunrise over the Nile. Let's see, it should come in okay. And so we'll keep our eyes open. I'm kind of looking at the questions in the chat, and so you guys need to tell me if there's a boat or something back there interesting. But you can see that dawn is starting to break over the old River Nile. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Six Spike says that he likes the live talk. The live chat's great. I love being in here. I just love interacting with you guys, and we can do it a little bit more personally than what we can at, you know, like with me just going through the comments. Allie says, I would love to do one-time donation with PayPal. Would you please set up? Yeah, well, PayPal, it's just my PayPal account is paul.mcwhorter, MCWHORTER @gmail.com. And that is just a quick way for someone to donate. And really, I know a lot of people don't like the whole, you know, sign up or subscribe for something. And with PayPal, you can just do a quick send if you would like to help out that way. How can I be bored drinking iced coffee? I don't know. I mean, if I have iced coffee, I am pretty good. If I can get some iced coffee in me, I am always good. DRD, my email address would be the same as the PayPal address that I just, oh, I'm sorry. DRD was asking for AKL's email address. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, you can barely see. Well, yeah, if you're talking about the river back there, it's because it's dark outside and the camera is just starting to pick up lights. What's the weird light in the background? I do not see a weird light in the background. Does anybody else see a weird light in the background? I see a little pixelation. I see a little pixelation from the from the fact that it is dark, but that is it. Eagerly waiting for the Pico tutorials. Love your videos. Thanks. I am looking for them too. Can Pico interact Python frameworks like? I have never played with the Django or Flask, and so Cap, I just find a solution that doesn't involve those two things usually. And so I have not played around with that a lot, so cannot really answer. Should I integrate my son on the new series of lessons of Pico W? He is 10. Okay, Ullman, if you're sitting there with him and working with him, he'll have a lot of fun with you, and he can kind of do it along with you. But I think at 10 years old, you probably need to be sitting with him. I think a motivated 7th grader can do it on their own, and just any 9th grader that is willing to go in and do it will be able to understand it. Let's see. George says, "Oh yeah, ready for some Pico W. Hope you've been well, Paul." Actually, I've kind of ad nauseum explained how sick I was in January, but I'm back in the saddle. I am back in the saddle. It looked like a fishing boat going by. Oh man, did I miss a fishing boat? That is really, really very sad if I missed a fishing boat. Let's see if we get this here. I'm just kind of refreshing the connection. Okay, that looks like we got a good connection. It's coming along. It is coming along. Okay, you guys tell me if there's something in the background, and we'll take a look at it. I love the early mornings as dawn breaks and you start seeing the little fishermen out there. Really, it's a very pleasant experience. I'd like to share it with you guys. Okay, weird light, clean dust off screen. Oh, now that was a weird light that I just saw there. I just saw a very weird light. Okay, maybe things are coming and going out there. Okay, good, you're back. Yeah, it is great to be back, and it's great to be working on these lessons. And I am really, really, really having a lot of fun with it. I've been following along with your Python tutorial. You're the best teacher. God bless. Well, God bless you too, Lane. And really appreciate the kind words and the kind thoughts. And it's it's great to be a part of this channel, and great to have you guys tuning in. And so I haven't seen anybody step up and say they would be willing to kind of help some of the new guys, like maybe monitor the comments a little bit and see if you could be helpful to some of the new guys. Okay, there is definitely a light in the background now. Definitely a light in the background. And what I think that is that is a fishing boat. And what the fishing boat is fishing for is they call them little silverfish, but I think I would call them minnows. And they capture those in little traps, and the lights attract the fish, and then they sell that for bait. Okay, Aaron has stepped up and said he would help kind of monitor the comments and offer suggestions. That is really great, because what I really want is I want a sense of community in this channel and in this class, and I don't want the Pico W to turn into a bunch of it's sort of like the Arduino, really, really wonderful user base and very friendly people, and then the angry Linux guys on the Raspberry Pi. I don't want the Pico W to become a platform for angry old guys to insult new guys. And so if some of you guys will step up and help the new guys, we can create a community, and we can create a nice place to be. Okay, thank you, Aaron. I haven't had my Pico. Talking to a DHT11 was fun, finding the bug in the library. Okay, yeah, there's always the chance that you have some bugs in the library. Pico can only handle 3.3 volts, and I have a project in mind about making an automated switch to monitor the batteries. How can I handle it? Okay, well, the Pico is a 3.3 volt device, and so that's just something we've got to kind of live with. Let's see. Of course, okay, VT is going to be helpful. Thank you. Arduino has the Nano RP2040 Connect board. I am not familiar with that, so cannot comment. Can the Pico handle an image recognition project? Okay, on an image recognition project, I would probably not go to the Pico. I would probably, if you wanted a small form factor to do some image processing, I would use the Raspberry Pi Zero. Okay, and I've made a camera capture system and some pretty simple little things using video on the Pico on the Raspberry Pi Zero, and it has worked pretty well. Sitting in a Michigan hospital, drawing over your iced coffee, nothing but water for the last few days. Oh, Mitchie, sorry, it sounds like you're having a little difficulty. Hope you're back home soon and back in the saddle as quickly as possible. We'll all be concerned, and hopefully you'll give us an update on how things are going. You think Linus guys are angry? The ham radio guys. Aaron, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I've probably told this story before, but I had a group of high school students, and like most people in the ham radio world just have their technician. There's like the technician license, and then there's the general license, and then there's the extra license, and probably less than 1 in 1,000 ham guys have the extra license. I took a group of high school students and I got them all to that extra class. That's like the premier, the creme de la creme of the ham radio world. And I'll tell you, those gripey old ham guys were so mean to those little kids. Like those kids would be talking back and forth with their extra license, 100% obeying the law, but maybe saying something that the ham guys didn't like. So like they would be working on our high altitude ballooning project, and a guy would be out walking around with the package to test the software, to test the tracking software. And then when the track was good, the guy in the, back in the classroom would say, okay, return to home base. And that would make the ham guy so mad that this kid would use this slang, return to home base. And we would get these letters saying, you shouldn't say return to home base, you should say this. And then, oh my goodness, one time a kid said 10-4 on the ham bands. You would have thought that he had, murdered a little puppy or something. But those ham guys are really, some of them are really angry. Also, some of the ham guys are the nicest people that you're ever going to run to in the world. It's like they're sort of extreme. Either they're the nicest grandpa figures that you've ever seen, or they are just angry old men. Aaron, you kind of triggered me on that one. Most people know not to talk about. Most people know not to talk about the ham guys because that does get me started. Okay, let's see, where am I? I think there will be many to help. Dr. Dave, good, I really hope so. I can help with the programming questions, being a programmer. Very good, Kashish, hope you'll help. I would step up, but I'm honestly a new guy. Jacob, we were all a new guy at one point, and that's what we want. We want new guys. And us grumpy old men, what we want to do is we want to be grandfatherly type figures and just nice guys that like to help young people out. Oh, boat, do you see that? Look at that. We have a fishing boat going by. How exciting is that? Okay, we've got our first fishing boat going by. And we'll take a look. I'll show you a little bit more about this this camera later on. Let's see, Chase, when I become a pro, I will help kids like me. Well, Chase, you're one of the new guys, and we want you to feel very, very welcome on this channel. And we want you to ask questions, and we want you to be a part of it. You see, maybe some of us have been in this field for decades, and then some, like Aaron, are relatively young people, but very, very expert in things. And then there's the young people who are just getting started. And we want this a place that the young people just getting started want to come and feel like they're a part of the community. Okay, let's see. Okay, Johnny, awesome, thanks. All right. Looking through here, trying to catch up on these chats. Sir, you're familiar on robot simulation platforms like WebBots. You know, guys, I've just really not had a lot of luck in the robotics arena. I had gotten one of those really expensive high-end robots called a TurtleBot. It was kind of almost based on that Zoom vacuum cleaner technology, to where like you should be able to map out a whole building and it should be able to go and do tasks. And it had LiDAR and it had the robotic operating system ROS. And it was a very, very high-end platform. And that thing just broke my heart. I could never quite get it to do things. It was like glitchy. And even things that were standard methods in the ROS operating system would glitch out if certain things happened. And so I just really kind of gave up in frustration on a lot of the robotics stuff. The other problem with robotics is that if you look at electronics, a $5 component is just mind-blowing, powerful, and perfect. But when you get into the mechanics world, when you get into the mechanical part of robotics, the servos become very, very expensive. The joints, the connectors, all the componentry becomes very, very expensive. And the type of thing you could do with a $100 kit, it just doesn't have the mechanical stability and functionality to work very well. And so really, I would say most of the stuff that I've done in robotics, it turned out to be kind of heartbreaking. Okay, so I didn't think that a Pi Zero had that much power. Well, it doesn't, but you can do video on a Pi Zero at probably 10 or 15 frames a second, and that is pretty darn good. And given the fact that it's very small and very cheap, I think it opens up a whole lot of possibilities. Okay, it's a shame ham radio is so cool. It is, man. And you know, Aaron, the thing that I loved about ham radio is when you got into the texting part of it, where like you could type and then encode the letters you were typing and then send them. And some of these ultra low noise text-based protocols, what were, Aaron, maybe you can remind me what they were called, like Whisper, or there were like different formats for doing text stuff. And I love the technology behind that. But in the end, I'm not into ham radio anymore. Let's see, Aaron got my extra class over COVID. Well, that is really great. And I think that you coming from an engineering background, you would have the math horsepower and so forth to really, the math horsepower and engineering horsepower to do the extra. And so that is really good. They make 3.3 to 5 volt logic converters. Yeah, you can do 3.3 to 5 volt logic converters, but then a lot of times you got to go back 5 volts to 3.3 volts. So if you're stepping it up to talk to a component, you got to step it back down, or you can end up with problems. And so I just try to go 3.3. If it's a 3.3 volt board, I go 3.3 volt. I guess in an ideal world, I wish everything was 5 volts. I really do. I'm not a big fan of 3.3 volts, but I'll live with it. Okay, Johnny J has general extra class. Oh, dang. Yeah, there is one more class out there. There is one more class out there that you can get in the ham radio. My goal is to make a small media remote for my PC. Can I do this with the Pico? My guess would be yes, you could, but that's just a guess. I would think the Pico would be a good platform to try to do that on. Ooh, Pat Rude, my advanced extra, that's good. All you nice ham guys, I apologize. I'm not trying to sit here and trash the ham guys. All right, let's continue to look. I'm trying to catch up on the lessons here. Howdy from Houston. Okay, Wesley, welcome. We got several people, or howdy from Texas. I'm sorry. Welcome, Wesley from Texas. When I'm sleeping, I will be, okay, that is great. Boat. Yep, we saw the boat. We got another boat. Look at that. We got another boat. All right, man, the fishermen are out and they are getting busy. Thank goodness he only said 10-4 and left out the good buddy. Terry, I don't think he said good buddy, but I think that saying 10-4 is such a saturated, it's like once you've said that, there's not too much worse that you can do. Ooh, Kashish is a Linux user. Okay. Kashish, are you a nice Unix Linux user? I'm sure there are some nice Linux users out there. Kind of funny thing, but I was looking to make some of the schematics for my for the upcoming Pico W class, so I needed the little Fritzing model of the Pico W. Fritzing is the software you use to create the schematics and the diagrams. Like, let me show you here. This where would I have a Fritzing? I think I've got a Fritzing model on here somewhere. Yeah, like that. You see up there is the Fritzing model. How do you create that? Well, you have to have the kind of files for all the different components that you're going to use. And so, like, I was searching for a Fritzing model for the Pico W, and then it takes me to the Fritzing forum, and then somebody was saying, where can I find a model for the Fritzing W? And the guy answered, I made one, and you can find it by doing a Google search, or you can find it by searching this forum. But a Google search brought me to that response, or a search on the forum brought me to that response. And literally it took me 3 or 4 hours to finally find the Fritzing file. And this guy that did so much work, to create, I might even have a picture. Here's the little model here, the Pico W model. The guy that spent so much effort to create that beautiful model, then he gets snarky like, well, I made it and I know where it is, but I'm not going to tell you about it. So that was kind of that was kind of frustrating. Okay, I'm trying to get caught up. Okay, we've got Arvin says hello. Yeah, another boat. Do you have a plan to have a lecture series on Ross? No, Ross broke my heart, and every time I tried to do Ross, it was very frustrated. We're getting some birds out there that I see. In just in a minute, there's going to be a momentary glitch here in our stream. We might be having a momentary glitch here in our stream. You guys might be having a little buffering, but it looks like it has come back online there. Okay, had a little moment of buffering. I'm sorry about that. Okay, what is your opinion on Vex? Like I say, I've just kind of not done a lot with robotics just because the componentry that is affordable makes for very frustrating projects. Okay, would it be okay, Paul? So thank you for teaching. Can I make you a new background? Okay, guys, I'm getting a little buffering here. Hopefully this will clear up in the next few minutes. The thing behind your logo, only if you want to. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what logo you are talking about there, but I appreciate the kind thoughts. Finally, not all of us are finally, not all of us are sociopaths. Okay, well, that's a great goal. Like a first goal is to not be a sociopath. Like I used to have this student, and that student was just absolutely brilliant. He was like he was like the pure essence of genius. Oh, did we get another super chat? Thank you. If I missed that, appreciate the super chat there. You guys are being very generous, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so this kid was just absolutely genius, but he was out there on the spectrum somewhere, and he just had this way of just absolutely distracting the classroom. And then as he was absolutely distracting the classroom, the other students knew him, and they would try to get him wound up to do this. And it was just absolutely a very large challenge to manage this kid in the classroom, because he was genius, but yet he had these what I would say impulses that he was not controlling certain impulses. And so let's say that the kid's name was Joe. I would call Joe to the side, and I would say, Joe, I don't need you to be normal. I just need you to be normal enough to hold down a job. And so actually he was not insulted. Hey, another super chat. You guys really appreciate it. I just need you normal enough to get a job. And actually he wasn't insulted. He kind of liked it. He because it was an achievable goal. He did not have to be normal like everyone else. He just needed to be normal enough to interact in society. And he has gone on to a major university, and he's got a 4.0. And so that was a lot of fun. Okay, any tips on learning to code Arduino? Okay, well, if you're trying to learn Arduino, take the Arduino class would be my suggestion. Volunteers is a first Inspire event this week. Hey, that is great, George. It is great to hear that. PSK31, boom, that was it. PSK31 and JT8 were the two things that I really loved, Aaron. Okay, let's come down here, Cap Electronics. Okay, Ullman, again, really appreciate the super chat. And Scott, really appreciate the super chat. And man, you guys have a lot of comments, and I'm having trouble getting to them all. Andrew, they used to be a lot cheaper. Okay. Also, what is your opinion on Rust programming? You know, I have never played around with Rust, and so I really cannot comment on that. I cannot comment on Rust because I have not played around with it very much. Okay, Victor Soto from Corpus Christi. Hey, Victor, welcome. Okay, yeah, I can't really comment on rust. Man, one of the reasons that things are staying kind of dark out there longer than normal is I'm seeing there is a deep, deep fog out on the river. Deep, deep fog out on the river. So hopefully we'll get light to come and the camera will switch over to color. And so I want to kind of show you some of the cool stuff that you can look forward to in the Pico W class, but we need to get the light out there so we can see what's going on back behind us. Okay, so is there a common CHA community area, or can you only interact on each class? Rob, I'm not sure. Is there a common community area, or can you only interact on each class? Okay, at one point I'd set up a Discord server, and the guys that were Patreon, boom, look, we just had the color kick in. Is that not a beautiful morning on the Nile River? So I had a Discord server set up, and the guys that were on Patreon got an invite to it. And the problem that kind of I saw is there wasn't a lot of activity on it. And then also it was just one more thing for me to check for comments on, one more thing to monitor. But what we might at some point, if some of you guys were willing to be moderators and kind of do it, maybe I could just open up that Discord server for everyone if there were some people that were willing to kind of do moderation, because everything that has my name associated with it, I want it to be family friendly. I want it to be kind. I want it to be encouraging, and I want it to be clean. Okay. And so to do something like that on an open server, you have to have moderators, and no one being rude to new people, none of the stuff like that. So we can discuss that, whether there would be people willing to kind of do the Discord moderation, and then I could just open up that Discord server to everyone. But I would need you guys to kind of give me feedback on that. I love on what programming language. I really love Python. Let me know if you play around with Rust. No, I don't play around with Rust. I don't know. Yes, the birds are out. Look at that. Beautiful. The birds are out. The Arduino classes are awesome. Thanks. Do you know about the Node MCU Arduino board? Have not played with that one yet. Your community is probably large enough now. I'd be happy to moderate the server. Okay, Aaron. Well, you guys, let's see if there's several of you that would be willing to kind of be moderators on that, and then maybe we could open it up, and you could imagine that might be a good thing. I see. Well, just don't invite the ham people. Yeah, it's like, if you want to join the Discord server, question 1, do you have a ham license? Question 2, are you a Linux expert? I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, look at that. We've got boatmen. Okay, guys, so let's get serious about my upgrades. One of the things I really appreciate, you guys that have, all you guys are so supportive of this channel. I love you guys that are supporting me on Patreon. The super chats make a big difference for me. And then also some people just make one-time donations. People buying things through my affiliate links, that is a great way to help. And then just being a part of the channel, being a part of it, encouraging it. There's ways you can help the channel besides, like, I'm not, out asking for money, but when it all comes together, I have the resources to try to really make very good material. And so what I want to show you is, do you guys see the river cam? Tell me in the river cam what you're interested in here. What is the object of interest in the river cam here? Somebody tell me. What do you see in the river cam that is interesting? Okay, somebody tell me. Somebody tell me. What is interesting right now? Okay, the fisherman. Yeah, that is interesting. So watch this. Boom. Ha ha. You see that? Look at that. I zoomed in on the fisherman. Now, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? It looks like they're pulling in their nets now. So you guys tell me, is this like one of the coolest things you've ever seen? that I have a new camera, and a very, very high-end camera, and it is a PZT, so I can pan, I can tilt, and I can zoom, and I have very sophisticated software to control the river cam. And now you might just say, well, that's just nonsense. You know, why do you need to have a fancy river cam? But what's really neat about it to me is that the problem that I have is my studio has a whole lot of HDMI cameras, and I only can have 4 inputs. Losing focus a little bit. Oh, you see, the problem is it's focusing on the tree instead of focusing on the fisherman. But let's go back to our full view. Okay, and you can see, oh, we got more fishermen here. And so we'll try to keep one router. I'm getting buffering in the camera, and so I really need to go up and reboot the router, but we're just going to power on through here right now. Okay, you guys are probably getting some buffering right now. Wow, I can't help it. You know, I just got to see how these guys are doing. They are really fighting the current there. Okay, you guys let me know if this boat business is exciting to you as it is to me. Okay, but this is the thing, that because HDMI is very, very high bandwidth, with my PCI slots on my computer, even though I have a very, very high-end computer, I can only have 4 HDMI inputs. Share an HDMI input. The river cam had to share an HDMI input with my Sketchpad, and then that was causing problems. And now the thing is, this camera is not an HDMI camera. It is a RTSP camera. It's an IP camera, and therefore I can get this video without taking up one of my slots in my computer. Let's see. There they go. Okay, let's see. By the way, for Linux troubles, I would say the Ubuntu and Mint forums are quite beginner friendly, but if you go for each forums, have a pitchfork ready. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Let's go back to the main view. Okay, so what is the cool thing about this camera? We can point it and we can look at different things, and then also it's not consuming one of my HDMI slots, and so therefore I will get much more stable. I will get much more stable operation in my studio, because I'm not putting such a bandwidth demand on the computer, if that makes sense. Okay, okay, lag. Yeah, okay, yeah, right. I know that there's been a little latency here. So what do you guys think about this camera? Huh? Is this pretty neat? Let's look at some of the other things we can look at. I can look at the wider view of the river. Okay, is that pretty cool? You should be able to use the camera with OpenCB. Yeah, I can do that. Looks like a painting. Oh, okay. So now let's see. Let me kind of see if I can look at some other things here. Actually, I can show you here. I can swing it all the way around, and you can kind of see back towards the front of the house. And actually, we had a massive storm come through yesterday afternoon. And it was just a massive storm, and this enormous tree of my neighbors, was blown over, and it missed my house by like inches, but it took my security fence out. And so what I found yesterday is I found that we were in this situation where my perimeter security fence was down. There was a horrible storm, and we had to get the perimeter secured before nightfall. And so the people working on my compound just really came through like champs. They went to the guy that has a chainsaw in the little center nearby, and there was a crowd there because everybody had the same problem. Trees had blown over on people's houses, on neighbors' houses. But the guy with the chainsaw, what he agreed is he would come and just cut the tree into sections so that we could get it off of the fence and then rebuild the fence. And we did get the perimeter secured by the time it was dark, which is kind of really important around here. And then now what the guy's going to do with the chainsaw, once he gets the emergency work done, he's going to come back and he's going to cut this into boards. And he is like an artisan. He gets that round log, and with a chainsaw he cuts it into like almost perfect slabs. and then we let the slabs age, and then we plane them. And so we'll build furniture out of this tree that fell over there. Okay, the brand of the camera is Amcrest, and it is a great camera. Okay, teach it to detect human fishermen and zoom in on it. Yeah, that's something that we could actually do in OpenCV. Nice background stuff, but I prefer to get to the subject. Pico, well, Dean, this is just one of those kind of crazy channels where we talk about stuff, random stuff, and so that's kind of the way it is. I wish I had one. Yeah, it is a pretty neat camera. What is the zoom capability? I am not sure, Vaughn, but it does some pretty amazing stuff. So let's see. Let me see if I can find... I don't know if this is going to work right, but let's see if I can come here. And this is Papaya Cam. Can you see my papayas up there? That is Papaya Cam. So I can watch my papayas and see if the monkeys are getting into my papayas. And then let's see if this one will work. I don't know if it will work exactly right, but this is Banana Cam. And so I can watch my bananas, make sure that no one is getting into my bananas. And then I can kind of give you a picture here. This is like right outside. If you look outside my studio, that's like the doors to the studio. This is the balcony outside of my studio. You can see it's actually raining out there right now. And then let's go back to this view. Okay, and we've got the fisherman. And then also I can, like I say, we can come in and we can zoom in on an area of interest. And while apparently some people don't like this type of stuff, I just love it. I just love kind of sharing with you a little bit about the environment that I'm living in and some of the stuff that I have. I can't really walk outside because this camera, I've got to kind of stay in front of this camera. I'm going through your Arduino. Hey, Norman, that is really great. I appreciate that. But okay, so what does this mean for you? This means that I can now use my sketchpad without having to share it with RiverCam, and then that will allow me to much more seamlessly go between like my code view and between my code view and my sketchpad view. Let me show you my sketchpad here, and I've also made an improvement to that. I was always kind of fighting with the sketchpad. Okay, I was always kind of fighting with the sketchpad. So using the 3D printer, I printed out this nice little stand. I printed out this nice little stand for the sketchpad. And then hopefully what you can see is that it's just much more natural. I can sit and I can write on it much more naturally. And then also what I can do here is, with a little bit of luck, okay, so you can see my sketchpad view. One of the problems that I always had with the sketchpad, you see the screen is only supposed to respond to the pen, but if you look at this one little icon down here, like as I am writing, if my hand hits that little spot, this thing pops up. So as I'm trying to do math, that covers that up. And now as I'm working and writing up here, I'm not having that thing pop up, and it's a much more natural angle. So now I have this directly feeding into my HDMI port. It's not having to share with RiverCam, and then that makes a very, very good improvement. So what improvements are we going to see in the studio so far in the Pico W class? First of all, we're going to have a lot more interesting things on the RiverCam that we can be watching. And then the second thing is I'm going to be able to move to and from the sketchpad without having all of those glitches. Then as I'm using the sketchpad, it's not going to keep popping up that little window that is so annoying. And then finally, an improvement I'm going to have, which I've struggled with stable power here for the last 2 years, and I finally went in and just did a massive rebuild of my electrical system. So I have 220 volts coming into the compound. Then I have a backup generator, and that backup generator will kick in if the power goes off. But then always the problem was in that transition period, my studio would crash. Well, what I have is I have 4 massive batteries up there that can run my house for like probably 12 to 18 hours. And then also what I have is, now the problem becomes recording a video, and that video, let's remake the video. So the power going up and down, and I have 4 batteries that'll run the house for 12 to 18 hours. Then up here, this is the battery charger controller. So this sort of manages going from grid to the batteries. And then these two Tronic units are voltage stabilizers. So if the grid is going too high voltage or too low voltage, whatever the input voltage is and imperfections in the grid, this will output a perfect 220. So with all of this gear, this was probably $3,000 or $4,000 for me to get all this stuff put in. But what it allows me to do is it allows me, when I sit down to make a video, to be able to make it without having to remake it 4 times. And if I have crashes that cause me to make it 4 times in a day, then you notice my voice starts wearing out. I start having to clear my throat. And also, I'm not in such a great, happy, chipper mood, right? I'm not in such a great, happy, chipper mood if I'm on my 4th attempt to make the video. Okay, let's come back over here and let's see what you guys are saying. Lots of fishermen, yeah. Love the river. Okay, Oman, I hope you guys like the river. It's just like I say, it's part of the channel. I try to be more personal in my channel, where I sort of share with you a little bit more of what's going on and that sort of thing. How do you get the internet in the jungle? Well, across the river there is a tower, and I have a radio that connects to that tower, and actually I have a pretty good connection, but for some reason it is not cooperating quite as well this morning as I would like. You guys are probably getting a little bit of buffering. How many times has your power failed when filming a lesson? Like almost every lesson. Almost every lesson I end up having to redo. And now what we went out and did is we went out and we just cut grid power, and the whole thing was able to switch over without the studio crashing. And so I think that I'm going to be able to deliver a better product now. Yeah, okay, Chase is saying he's getting some lag. I apologize for that. But I'm going to be able to switch over without the studio crashing. Therefore, I will be able to deliver a better product for you as far as these classes goes, because I'm excited and fresh and not a grumpy old man because my studio crashed 4 times during the day. And I hope that makes sense. Okay, guys, let's see if there are any last minute questions that you guys have. For the Sketchpad, try an animation glove. It covers your little and ring finger, which will make it easier for you to use it. Okay, that's an interesting idea. I not thought about something like that. But I think for now, probably this little tab is gonna fix my problem, because that little button is the only thing that was causing the problem. Is Starlink available? Not yet. If Starlink is not available yet, so I can't take advantage of that. Okay, guys, are there any final questions? So I've told you what's going on with the Pico W. I thank you guys that are supporting the channel. I've tried to show you some upgrades that we've made to the upgrades to the studio that should allow me to deliver a better product for you. Do you need the link? Let's see. Which orientation did you print the Sketchpad holder in? I printed it up and down, right? I printed it like this. Okay, like this, and then you see it's hollow, so that I didn't use so much. Filament. So that's going to make a big difference. Thanks for all the hard work. Okay, Cap, that's great. Appreciate the kind words. Any suggestion for young engineers getting their first job? Yes, watch my series of lessons, How to Be a Successful Engineer, and that will have everything that you need on there. I'm interested in the energy saving class you did have. Okay, yeah, I could get back. Like, I've learned a lot about solar and batteries and generators and all that kind of stuff. I should probably talk more about that at some point. Okay, guys, we're at the 1 hour and 5. Okay, the Pico W classes start this coming Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, I release the first lesson. Tuesday will be the day that I release the lessons in Premieres. It'll be that standard time slot. And so you guys can start start talking about that a little bit. I mean, you guys start getting ready for that. Okay, guys, I don't want to go any longer than this. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you've not already, subscribe to the channel. And then, as always, share this channel with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with a wonderful sunrise over the Nile. I will talk to you guys later.